So, brothers and sisters, it's wonderful to be together. We're still in the glory of the Easter season. And the readings today are incredibly rich. We have the choosing of the deacons to assist in the life of the early church, and indeed from that point onwards. And then in the gospel, we have these wonderful, encouraging words from Jesus. In my Father's house are many rooms, and I go now to prepare a place for you. And then Jesus enters into this dialogue with Thomas. Lord, how do we get there? How do we get to the Father's house? And Jesus gives him an incredible answer. I am the way and the truth and the life. Brothers and sisters, it's been said that you cannot just write Jesus off as some nice messenger or merely a prophet, because what he says here is way beyond that. I am the way and the truth and the life. So I'd really like us to dwell on these powerful words for a moment. You could write books, volumes on each of these elements to this phrase. But I tried to keep things simple, and I've just drawn out some straightforward lessons, I believe, from this powerful teaching of Jesus. So Jesus says, I am the way. I am the way. Jesus is the way to live, to get to heaven. And at the most elemental level, what did he do? So he lived his days doing good to others and constantly seeking the Father's will in all things. And of course, he lived in simplicity. So for us in our lives, we can choose to live simply, to use any excess we have to support the church and charitable causes and follow Jesus in that life of simplicity. And then in all our prayer and in all our actions, like Jesus, we seek to do the Father's will in all things. And then like Jesus, we can spend our days seeking to love and serve others. I am the way. And Jesus then says, and the truth. Jesus is the truth. What does this mean? Well, we have been given the great gift of the Gospels. We have the words of Jesus that we can live by. Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. Jesus is God. In the Gospels, we have this intimate revelation of God himself speaking his words to us. So we can live by those infallible divine words of Jesus in the Gospels. And the Lord gave us another gift. He gave us the Holy Catholic Church. His teaching is infallible, and for it to be preserved and transmitted through the ages, he also had to give us an infallible interpreter, Holy Mother Church. There's a lovely little story about an African cardinal I really love, Cardinal Arinze from Nigeria. And somebody asked him one day in a question and answer, how important is the catechism, Cardinal? And Cardinal Arinze said, how important is the catechism? If you have a coat and no catechism, and you meet a man with a catechism and no coat, swap over. It's better to have a catechism and no coat, because the catechism is that sure guide for our faith given us as a gift from the church. So Jesus is the truth, and we can live by all his truths, and those truths also transmitted by revelation and by tradition in the church. And then Jesus also says, I am the life. I am the life. Now this is probably the most striking for a person to say, I am the life. What does this mean? Well, When we come into relationship with God through Jesus Christ, primarily, firstly, at our baptism, we are given at that moment of baptism supernatural life. We are given sanctifying grace. We are adopted into the family of God. So we receive the life that is Jesus through the holy sacraments. And of course, if we mess up, the church gives us the great gift of confession to restore us back to life, back to sanctifying grace. If we came in here today, God forbid this happens, but if somebody died right now, I'd anoint them straight away. But imagine after that, if I then prayed over them and they came back to life. We'd find that quite interesting, won't we? It'd be quite a moment. But brothers and sisters, that is less of a miracle than if somebody came to me after Mass and said, Father, I'm in mortal sin, I need to go to confession. And by giving them the words of absolution, they would be raised from spiritual death. They would be given supernatural life. So the miracle in the confessional would be greater than the miracle of the resurrection of the dead body. I hope we don't have to do that. But, brothers and sisters, I'm here to serve. Please, if you ever find yourself in that predicament where you've messed up in a serious way, make an act of perfect contrition and get to confession as soon as possible. Because confession is a supernatural infusion of life back into the soul. It's a spiritual resurrection. So, there are 3 simple reflections on these astonishing words of Jesus. I am the way and the truth and the life. And finally, just in case you thought my story there about the miracle of confession being greater than the miracle of resurrecting a body, the last couple of lines of this gospel, Jesus said, whoever believes in me will do the works that I do, and greater works than these will he do. I was speaking with a priest friend the other day, and he explained to me, Father David, that is exactly what happens in the sacraments and in confession. Bringing people back to life is a greater work even than when the Lord raised those people from the tombs. So we thank the Lord for all the gifts he's given us, and we will meditate this week, all the week. Oh, please meditate all week on those astonishing words. Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life. Amen.